YouTube, guess what we got going on? Today we've got something pretty cool. I'm going to show you how to water block your GPU, specifically this GPU, which is the ROG 4090 Strix, which is an amazing card until the 50 series comes out. This is really the bee's knees and the top of the line. We're going to install a EK Vector white version with a titanium top water block, and it's pretty easy to do. Show you how to tear down the card, do your thermal pads, get everything tightened up, ready to go, pressure test, make sure it's good, doesn't leak. I think we should be real happy with the results. We'll go ahead and, if we have time today, we'll install it into his white build. If not, we'll make a whole nother video on that. But it should be a good video, informative, take some of the fear out of water cooling, which water cooling right now, custom water cooling is in an odd state where people just buy AIOs and they're fine, but on the card side of things, you can get really good efficiency, a really quiet PC, great temps, and I prefer custom water cooling, A, because it's like a hobby, B, you have a beautiful looking rig when you're done, and it's just a lot of fun. So it's something that I hope keeps going over the years. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to go to a top-down view and tear this thing down and show you how it's done. Take some of the fear out of just ripping a graphics card apart, and you can even learn how to repaste from this video, all that good stuff, and put it back together. But let's get started. We'll go from there, and it should be pretty fun install. Okay, so now we're on the EK website looking up some results for what we need. So choose out of stock, but I have one. So, and to give you an idea, this is the titanium back, and it is going to take this behemoth of a card and turn it into this size, which makes it a lot smaller. This is the titanium top, which looks really nice. It's going to match his white build. It's got the white block on the front. This is going to be a pretty sweet setup, and it's lightweight. It should take some weight down on the card, to be honest with you. I mean, it's pretty heavy, the nickel. But we go down here, and if you look here, it'll say instruction manual. And there you go. Then you've got your step-by-step instructions from EK. I'll blow that up so you can see it. And the first step they're going to want you to do is to tear down the card. They're going to have a parts list here of everything that should be included in this little accessory box, which should be packed full. So I have a parts list here too with part numbers and everything else, position, show you if you get into trouble or you have to do a rebuild, what you need. So first step is going to be prepping the card. So we can do so. I'm going to set this to the side gently. Okay. All right. So now typically I have a little tray for these, but I kind of know where all these go because I've done a bunch of these blocks at this point. So they're showing a picture of the tough, it looks like in the picture here, but I recommend doing stuff by hand if you don't know, and I would save all these fasteners for if you ever want to put an air cooler back on or you sell the card, especially with the 50 series coming out. So we'll remove these two, which I'm pretty sure, yep, these are the bigger spring-loaded ones. And I will put these all in a little bag for later on. And you can kind of set them in the orientation that you're seeing in the picture for your layout. Like I said, I know where these all go. Pretty sure all the links on these are identical as well. Move my boom. Sorry, guys. Just take your time. This is something you don't rush. And it tells you exactly what screws to pull as well. So if we blow it up a little bit more for you to see where we're at, it is showing the Strix card. I mean the tough card. So there's a couple variations from the tough to the Strix, but not much. And there's some RGB stuff we'll have to disconnect. these two. I think there's just that one additional screw that's right there. Is that? And you can see it kind of indexes stuff. But there is an additional screw. It looks like right there, and I'm definitely gonna pull it out. And you can use, I recommend for your first card doing stuff by hand, this is a very low torque electric screwdriver. Okay, so next step, it's gonna want you to take off the plate here. Go ahead and rip those down. And it only wants 3. You don't have to pull the HDMI, the screws by the HDMI. There's just the 2 in the end. There's those and this bad boy. I imagine, I've never really looked. I always just kind of blindly do this. Okay, so there's that. There's it for the back plate. Or sorry, for the IO. Step 3 from the front side. So I want you to flip it over. And stock will remove the front side, additional 2 screws. Attach GPU backplate. Which I think I got them all. Yep, there it goes. Backplate's coming off nice and easy. There we go. Alright. So you see you got some thermal pads attached. A good idea would be to remove them. And they look a little in rough shape, to be honest with you. Okay, so set that out of your way. I want to gently remove this pad. Which is, geez, they're soft. Okay. Okay, she kind of lived. Still want to save this fella. This one's in pretty rough shape in comparison to the other ones, so I have replacement pads, which I will use. Let's try to gently get this fella off, and that one's coming off like butter. Like butter wouldn't melt. Trying a bunch of new stuff here today. I know my camera angles and whatnot are not the best, but I don't have everything set up. I just got a new camera, which is decent, and I got a decent audio setup with a set of cans that I'm not used to yet. And so there's your back plate. It's a nice metal back plate. It's pretty lightweight. Set that to the side, and we will just reassemble the cooler when we're done. Okay, so stock cooler. If you look how it's showing you from the top side, we got everything cleaned up here. I don't really see any screws on the Strix. There are 2 screws here, and there's definitely some screws here. And our goal is to get this card off of the cooler, which isn't that tough. So we're gonna, let me grab a tool really quick and we'll get started on that. Okay, so this is pretty easy. Appear that the Tough and the Strix instructions are a little broke down differently, but really not much to it. You do pull this IO plate, which is wavy gravy. There's going to be some RGB connections here. We'll get to those. So this is the scary part where you peel back your actually take this off. So you gently do so, and at this point too, you're gonna pull this And God, that feels loose already. You need a really fine Phillips. That's too fine. This little fellow might work. Yep, perfect. Right. So that's a 0 pH 00. So by hand, and I like to do these a quarter turn at a time. You've got your I fucked my warranty sticker, which I'll just rip that right out of the way. So 3 turns, 3 turns, 3 turns. I see guys go ham on these things and just rip them off, but there is a risk of cracking your die. I'm sure it's rare, but it's definitely happened. Okay. Very gentle. Okay, that one's loose. At this point, we're fine. That's a preventative measure, but I've been doing that ever since I've been installing cards. Okay, so now we gently, and when I mean gentle, I mean gentle, start prying this thing, and the only thing that's really holding it is the paste. A, because it's a super premium card, we don't want to damage it, and B, it's gonna take our time. So the whole cooler's loose. And I'm just kind of rocking and moving. And there are some RGB connections. So here we are with the stock PCB and power stages. It's all cleaned up. Got the thermal pads transitioned over back to the stock cooler. They weren't happy about it. It seemed to fall apart. They were a little softer than the pads I typically see on Asus cards. On the cleanup, the most important thing right now is we're going to get this die cleaned up with some alcohol. Take our time. It looks like the coverage was okay. Seen better, seen worse. I always change out thermal paste even on a stock card. Typically use the Kingpin stuff or some Thermal Grizzly, Cryonot, one of the two. But we're gonna go ahead and get this cleaned up really quick with some alcohol and be right back. Okay, so a little alcohol prep pad soaked with 99.9% isopropyl. Just gonna clean that die gently. You don't have to go crazy. I see people getting like real wild, but the die just has to be clean. The thermal paste is gonna spill out over onto the die no matter what. Memory just be clean enough. You should put pads on them anyway. Something kind of unique I noticed on this 4090 die, and this is the newer die, which is I'm sure it's tough to see, but that is a 301 die. So there was a 300 die and a 301. I have one of each. I will say my my 300 die clocked better, and that was a cheap card too, like a cheap brand, cheap manufacturer. I was kind of shocked that it smashed as far as like its overclocking potential. The other card had a better base clock, but for just to be honest, it was a Zotac card that I put on a block, and it, even on its air cooler, it would reach crazy OC, and it definitely doesn't have the power stages or VRMs or any of that stuff that the Asus cards do, but shockingly enough, it was very good. All right, so at this point, it wants you to kind of set this guy to the side, which we're going to put it in a nice safe place. And it's time to get into prepping your water block, the fun stuff. So you got this little kit here of junk. It's just a bunch of parts. Usually it's EK branded, but this one isn't. So you got a goodie bag here full of fittings and whatnot. Gives you this nice little spludger tool that has a tool for standoffs that they use, which is really good. Some thermal pads, which are not EK color. Very interesting. Usually EK is all blue pads. They're a pain in the ass. And they're not pre-cut. These aren't either, but some of them actually are. Yeah, they're pre-cut. Check this out. This product was actually back ordered, and my good buddy ordered this. That's real interesting. Some of the EK packaging seems a little different, and we have pre-cut pads. So I mean, hats off, because it was always a pain in the butt cutting those pads. But hey, whatever. All right, so you get your block here. I'll switch back out to a PH1. And it wants you to start moving stuff. It looks like this one. 7 screws. Unscrew 7 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So all of them. And instructions are really kind of vague about. All right. So these have a retainer on the other side. So you just loosen them. And see when it gives up its grip. Okay, so this one's still got a little bit of hold. There you go. It gives you a couple of these spare retainers if they fall off. I have spares because boy, they're hard to find if they fall off. There you go. Okay. See, if you look at the back of the back plate, EK did something kind of nice. They put these little black plastic retainer pieces on, which is kind of sweet. And this is an aluminum piece, which doesn't seem very scratch happy, unlike the black versions of this. So we can set that off to the side. This is just a card with the user manual, which is nice. All right, that's your RGB stuff. These cables that come into here, right here at this connection for this RGB, are so goddamn delicate. So all I can say is be careful. Okay, so moving on. That's step 1. Now it wants you to install this IO, which I knew it gave me this. So it gives you this IO, and it'll tell you step by step what you need here. So you're going to need your 2mm Allen key, which I have a 2.5 on here, and I have a 2 there. There's my 2. Okay. So I have the EK torque driver, which works really well. It only puts out 0.6 Newton meters. Okay. So now you gotta get in your bag of screws. I typically just dump them all out. And at least there used to be a ton of spares in this packaging. It looks generally the same. This stuff's gonna be all trash. There's your thermal pads. 2 Allen keys, where they got 60,000. Gives you extra tool. These little guys like to get lost. These washers for insulating against PCB. These 2 plugs, 2 spare O-rings for the water inlet, an extra standoff, which all should be pre-installed. And I've learned to check these standoffs, make sure they're okay. They seem fine. So M3x6. So a lot of times what I'll do is I start separating the different screws by length. Like these guys. Here, here, this, here, here. These are probably for the PCB. There's some countersunk ones. So we'll separate them. They're probably for the IO. There's one longer one. There's a nut that's going to go to that longer one, and another nut which may just be a spare. These guys all look PCB. And then we've got one kind of longer one. This goofy fella, which is probably for one of those. There are some oddballs to this. You. Two silver screws. Very interesting. Okay. So these are the only countersunk screws. So this is where this is going to go. So you see you got two lined up here. And if you lay this down, sorry I bumped my mic. It's a pain in the ass. So do that. And they're on an Allen, so they look like they're 2. Let's double check. Yep, they're 2 mil. So just by hand, because it's real easy to damage this plexi. I think their intention with this countersink was to auto align the part, but I can see already, no, it's not crooked. It looks okay. All right, so one thing you gotta be really careful of, let's see if we can break it on camera and make my friend mad, is torque on plexi. So this will only torque to, if you look, 0.6 Newton meters. So just tight, snug that one. There you go. 0.6 Newton meters is not a lot of torque. All right, so that part's done. And it's already talking about cutting thermal pads. So 1 millimeters, 2 millimeters, and it's going straight to the PCB. Now, this is going to be a little different because these instructions look different. So we set this to the side. Just pull up my monitor. Knocked over some other stuff. Getting wild over here. All right, get our PCB laid out. Make sure we got nothing underneath of it. Let's see what these new pads are all about, EK. They are divided? Is that, am I seeing that right? Sure looks like it. Is that bag split? No, it's just they're all jammed up in one spot. Okay. So we got red and blue. There's some blue fellas. These definitely look like they're for memory by the size anyway. And there's 3. These sure as hell look like pre-cut. I said this is new. I personally never had a problem with my pads. I know where this fella goes. That goes in the back of the back plate. And these are thick boys. Yeah, they're same size. 1, 2, 3. So I'm assuming these are going to be for the back plate. And I don't see updates on the instructions about color coordination here. Cut the size, blah, blah, blah. So it says it takes all 1 mils on this. Very curious about this. I'm gonna check something really fast. See if I've lost my mind. Evostrix 4090. Interesting. Okay. So there's new directions. So I'm going to look these up real quick. See what's going on. Vector Evo Strikes. Let's see what we got going on. Curious here. Are these different? Are these different? Yeah. Okay, so check this out, fellas. All right, let me get this out of here. Very interesting. So they got an update for the thermal pads here. Instructions are virtually identical up to this point. So the VRMs, they're showing at a 2 mil VRM pad. Interesting. Which, yeah, I mean, these look like a 2. And it's not like they cut one. These are definitely 1s. Which, instead of going to the board, they're right to, that's crazy. So typically, with these cards and EK, they've always shown application at the PCB. Not this time. This time, they have you applying directly to this, which I'm fine with, and it's pretty easy. So the VRM pads are these little guys here, which appear to be 2 mil thick. And then these fellas, which I think is odd. If you're gonna color code stuff, like I see blue, I see red, I don't see any green or different shades of green, so this must have been figuring out as they went. So the VRM is a 2 mil pad. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so the fun part of all thermal pads. Oh, there we go. Well, they made them easier to peel. Say that. These used to suck to peel. So they want one here. I mean, honestly, thanks, EK. This makes life a whole lot easier. Those blue pads were dreadful to apply, peel, and cut. I mean, I did a ton of them. I didn't have any problems with them. They cool really well. But this is sweet. I'd like to know who makes these pads. That would be cool. And this is far simpler for a novice user. That looks a little long. So they want you to cut this. So real easy. You just eyeball it, cut it. I mean, they feel like a G-lid pad maybe, or I don't think they're Grizzly, because Grizzly pads have been like a pinkish color in the past. that's probably okay. A little overhang, I think, is going to be fine here. All right, and that leftover piece, I figure it just ain't big enough. I got plenty 2 mils laying around. So then they want 1 mil pads and the rest of the orientation. So this is pretty easy. Just cut that. There we go. I will say, when EK was giving out the blue thermal pads, you would have a ton left over. I mean, enough to do a whole nother card. Most likely, this does not appear to be the case. Okay, that's okay. Oddly enough, let's see. I will say, you're gonna make a mess when you're doing a card. Just get over it. Scroll down. So we got this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy in the 2 mils. So then we want you to move on to the 1 mil pads with the smaller pieces. A little confusing here. So they show them here. That's awkward. So down here and down here. Which this galley, I mean, sure, I can buy it, whatever. Straight down here. And it looks like they got it all the way to the edge. And always remember, because it's easy to forget to peel that plastic. If you peel that plastic, you're gonna figure it out quick that you have a problem. But fortunately, I mean, plastic on these peels really well. So that went about as smooth as it can go. The spare 1 mil, this leftover piece looks like just enough to fill in this other gap. It wants you to go right where this channel is. You can see this part here. Sorry, right there. There's a small divot or channel. You're gonna fit it right in that spot, kind of dead center. Okay, that should be okay. And I don't like this piece overhanging, so I'm gonna trim it. Perfect. Okay, that's good. You gotta do on the other side, same thing. That's a red. So they want this 1 mil in the galley. And I mean, I'm pretty OCD with these things. I mean, it's not like you really have to be. But, you know, looking at these diagrams, they're not exactly what you're looking at typically. They're close. But there's always going to be some pad overhang. I mean, this is interesting that it is different than the 2 other identical blocks. I'm gonna have to look back at some pictures I have of my other 4090 to see if they actually changed the block, which they may have, for all I know. Another thing I do notice is you don't have enough 1 mils for these 2 pieces here. So they want you to put one right here in between this bolt and then one down here, which, I mean, it's fine. I've got 1 mil pads. But yeah, there sure ain't enough. And I'm looking about here, and I don't see any other 1mm. I know this is for the top. What's going on, EK? Not giving us enough stuff to do the job. Okay, so that goes right in between that screw. I don't like the overhang, so I'm gonna fix it. Yep. Of course you're gonna get stuck. Get out of there. Get out of here, sticky little fella. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So, been through this bag 10 times. There's definitely not enough stuff here. So I'm pretty much kind of short. I know they're going to say, oh, well, if you exactly cut, well, if you're going to pre-cut them all, do it that way. But they didn't, because right now I'm pretty much short for this one and this one, no doubt. Like I would have never had enough. And they're all 1mm, so I'm going to grab some 1mm pads. Oh, what do we got here? All right. G-lid. Got 1.5s. 2.5s. Good lord. And I know for a fact that got some 1mm right here. And they'll be fine, so, because it's going to have to be. So that little fella. There. And there. These are the OG thermal pads. Okay. It's really odd they changed things up like this. I don't know why. Maybe it's a vendor issue. Maybe it was a convenience issue, but I'd prefer to have more thermal pads, at least enough to do the job, than not have enough. So, kind of odd. Alright, there's that. And we put a little square there. Let's see if we can get it close this time. That's better. Alright. Honestly, I like these pads. Everybody hates on these blue pads, but having enough pads to do a couple cards is sweet. Okay. The only complaint I ever had is that they were tough to peel, but these actually seem okay. Alright. So here's your card. Oddly enough, like I said, EK really didn't give me enough 1mm pads. That's odd. It's really odd. They're definitely not 1.5s. I mean, that's a 1mm. That's a 1mm, and they don't even show that this comes with a 1mm. So make sure you got no plastic on this. I know there's still plastic on this fella over here. And if you have a hard time peeling, a lot of times what I'll do is just grab like a razor blade and just grab the edge. Come right off. Okay. So we're looking good. That's your thermal pads all applied, regardless of the shortage. So moving down the list, let's see what else they changed. So now you got these VRM pads, which are 2mm. They sure do look like a 2mm. They want these down the side of this, and at these 4 high points. Let's see if they gave us enough this time. What do you think? Hope so. I mean, if they didn't, I'd be a little ticked. Cutting in a mustache, okay. Alright. So there's an overhang there that we'll probably do. Those small raised spots. So I'm gonna put this fella to the side. This one as well. Goes over here, and at least there is lines on the block. And I do think, yes, this block is different. Oddly enough, I liked it when they had it, the PCB lay down. This is a lot like what Bitsky and all those guys do. They don't have near as good instructions. Sorry about that. It's Labor Day, by the way. Supposed to be doing a lot of nothing, and I'm doing computer stuff, which that's okay. It's fun. It's a hobby. All right, peel that fella off. And peel that fella off. Okay. So at some point we'll stop and start cleaning up because it's a mess. All right, so now we got 4 points left, which are 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm gonna plop you down there and slice it. This razor blade sucks. All right, there we go. Uno. Dos. All right, where's that other little fella? I know I had a little piece of leftover. There you are. This one's oddly shaped. Go. One more, and I'll cut off the excess. There we go. It's fine. Looks good. Okay, so we got all our pads down. If you got a tiny bit of overhang, it's not gonna kill anybody as long as you take a look down the straight of it and it looks nice and flat and surface good and looks good. And when we put this back together, we'll be able to see if we got a problem or not. So moving down. So now I just want you to get right into the grease, and then I'm going to take a peek forward. And yeah, it's got pads for here. So it gives you 2 of these, 1 of those, and it gives you extra VRM. All right. So typically I'm sorry, EK, I always put the paste on the die. So they've got their new thermal paste, but I'm going to go with Old Faithful over here. We're going to use some Thermal Grizzly. Sorry about that, making an adjustment. Let me grab some paste real quick. Okay, so I have a lot of thermal paste, but for longevity's sake, we're gonna use some Thermal Grizzly. Either that or Kingpin, but okay. That's plenty paste. Sorry about the noise. Actually looking for my spreader, which I see it. There it is. Okay. All right. Be honest. This Grizzly's a little thick. Usually their paste seems a little more viscous to me. All right, paste it up. Sorry, fellas. I was looking for a new spread tool. And I know I've got one. Oh, there's one. Okay. So honestly, you can just put an X on it and call it a day. You wouldn't have any problem doing so. But I like to spread it across the IHS. So, all right, we're gonna paste down, follow our instructions carefully. All right, so then it's gonna put us the PCB back onto the block. I'm sure that EK paste is fine. I think I've used it a couple AIOs that actually did have pretty good temps. Okay, so we got the block facing us just like this. And we're gonna take this and lay it on down. And that's just gonna walk you through. Okay, so I like to get a top-down view. Yep, all 4 holes lining up. Looks good. Give it a little press. And we'll take a look at pads. Yep, pad contact looks good. Oddly enough, they did change some stuff here on the block. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. I guess we'll find out. Okay. So I like to make sure all the holes look relatively lined up. And then start putting everything on. So it's got 7. Use 7 screws with 7 washers. Okay. Start in the center, work your way around. Oops. Now, you gotta be a little careful here and just a little torque. I don't use a screwdriver on these, the electric portion. It is an extremely low torque driver, but at the same time, I want to be safe. And I haven't had any problems ever. I've definitely had a dead card out of the box. I just had a 3090 Ti that had been sitting on the shelf for a long time, and put it all together, posted just fine. I was waiting on some parts to come in, and the card just died. And I did a little bit of research, reached out to some friends, and they confirmed that, yeah, they've had some problems with those cards just being DOA. So, unfortunately, that one's getting an RMA, which hopefully won't be a problem. But I think it'll be fine. Okay. So, yeah, I always start in the center. Work my way around. Sorry, got tongue-tied. And see, this is why I stay loose, because this fella wants to shift to the right. There we go. So we're getting there. We're close. We're close. I do have a little bit of concern about this new pad layout and the block. But I'll take a look. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there you go. So 7 down. Start tightening screws around the GPU core. Me too. Okay. So that's it. This thing makes no power, no torque. 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now I'll give it half turn and a half turn and a half turn and a half turn, and I'm just using my fingertips. So okay, that one's good. That one's good. All right, all the other holes line up. I'm looking at the pad alignment. Pads do appear to be squished decently. I was concerned over here in this corner here, but no, they look good. It should be fine. Heat transfer should be okay. Okay. So that's that. Flip back around. We're pasted. We're good. Good. Move down the instructions here. Screws must be present in the places marked on the picture. I guess so. I mean, yeah, I understand that. So you can use your factory screws again for these fellas. One down. There's 2. It's just for the IO. I know my videos are really boring, and I'm sure lots of people have done it before, but you know what? It's kind of therapeutic for me, and I enjoy it. So, you know, you don't have to watch me. Mine's also set to adult, so I'm gonna do some more novice builds, like basic, like, you know, budget gaming PC stuff for the younger crowd getting into it, because I definitely want to support PC gaming. Yeah, they're all good. It's weird that it doesn't show screws here. Why wouldn't you put them in? Oh, this is for the 4090 Tough. Okay, so this is for the Strix. That's for the Tough. My bad. Step 2. Is this continuation for... Yeah, that's continuation for the Tough. Okay. Cutting and applying thermal pads for the VRM. So they have you lay it down like so. Oh, you turd nugget. Did exactly what I thought you were going to do. This is why they give you spares of these. Because I had this happen before. And I got a million of these things, so I've done a fair amount of these blocks. So it looks like they're doing the same thing. Instead of applying to the PCB, they're applying to this. Oddly enough, too, I thought that the my old card I thought was just for the 4090, not for the 4090 and the 4080. So it looks like they've changed some stuff. Okay, these big old guys here. Apply these as so, and I mean, I will say it is nice that you know, they're just set up like this, because mine just had a flat back plate. And I don't peel the top sticker until I'm done because they're just easier to handle. So, I mean, peeling too, it's such a goddamn mess of stickers and horse shit. Sorry for the language. There's that. But I do peel them as I go. I don't like to wait. Sometimes I wait and peel them all, but I feel like that's when I miss one. Just touch it and make sure they're tacky, and that's how you know. Okay, so then you have these fellas. Let's try it this way. Got you. This one. These do peel a lot better. I hope they cool as well. Yeah, interestingly enough, again, we're missing a pad. That's crappy. This one, I mean, yeah, it's just short. It's just short on pads, dude. Not enough pads. I mean, I like the revisions, but you know, what the hell? These are 2 mils, so I'm just gonna grab a 2 mil out of my stock. Kind of don't like that I have to do that. You know what? I think I like the EK 2 mils better. That's a 1.5. That's definitely a 2. Okay. I like size better anyway. So I just did some goofy stuff here. I really don't even know what to say. They just don't give you enough thermal pads. I could probably piece together, you know, some, but I don't like that. You shouldn't have to. You should come with all the thermal pads you need. I'm sure they're just working out the bumps here, but geez Louise, guys. Okay, so it wants it on the top. I mean, it's not going to affect anything. It'll be absolutely fine, but I mean, I know he was trying to get the active backplate version for this, and they canceled the order on him, which might be eerily telling. Hopefully not. I mean, If you can't get EK products soon, well, I guess I got a whole bunch of stuff here that will have no support. I hope that's not the case. I wish them the best. I know Joe went over to Thermal Grizzly. I know Attila went over to Noctua, which that stings because those guys are awesome. And have been a big part of EK for a long time. So I watched one of Joe's build videos and I was amazed. Dude's so smart. Really good builder, engineer, bright. Okay, so moving on. They need to install the backplate, so we're on to the nitty gritty. So they want you to hold it like this. Like I said, be very cautious with this RGB cable. It's a giant turd. Kind of self-explanatory here, so you'll see where the everything lines up on these. So there's really not a lot to it. I'm just checking their placement here. Yeah, they really don't. Oddly enough, like the other active backplates had totally different setups. Or sorry, the just standard backplate had different cooling setup. I'm sure it's fine, but it's just different. Okay, there's that. You're not happy. Can tell right away. Oh, awkward. Huh. Okay. So I gotta switch something up. It must have been the Strix and the other instructions. These are different than the old blocks. I mean, 100%. Yep. Everything else looks okay. All right, that's real weird. And I can look at my block and see that that's different in my rig, which I have the same card. Anywho. Okay, so I'll have a little bit of cleanup to do. So as typical, ton of leftovers, which half of them aren't even needed. And then it goes through tubing. So this card's done. I will say this out loud. It is absolutely different construction than my identical card. Like I have the same model. I'm assuming this is a revision. I have the same model, and it's different. The construction's different. The pad design's different. On my card, you can actually see they've changed some of the thermal setup for the block. Is it bad? No. Is it gonna be okay? Probably. Sure. But now you have a completed 4090 Strix water block. This we may install vertical into his rig. I don't know. I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup and probably put the case up. His PC weighs 1,000 tons. I have to lay this in. This will look good with the titanium. He's got white and all titanium fittings on 14 mil rigid tube. So I'll get that all together, but that is your end result of going from a behemoth, which you can look just the size of the backplate in comparison of like, that's how much smaller your card got. So if you're in a smaller case or want to build a small form factor, even though it would be liquid cooled, it is a giant space saving to run like basically what would look like a 2-fan card. But I do think it looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and pressure test real quick. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to plug here like that. And we'll plug this. And that's where these plugs are going to stay because, in all honesty, that's where the inlet and outlet is. So I'll just plug off the other end. I need one more plug, so I'll grab one really quick. Sorry about the noise. Yes, I have a giant case of fittings. So I'll just grab a plug for the bottom. They're all G-quarter stuff, so. Alright. Grab a handy dandy tester, pressure tester. And just make sure it holds pressure. It definitely should. So I've never had one flunk, at least a card. Okay, there's that. And just to be safe, we'll go ahead and give it a pressure test. So, and you don't want to go crazy, but yeah, I mean, sitting there holding it 0.4 bar. You could let it sit a while, but there's no point. It's fine. So, yep, she holds pressure. And I got a big mess to clean up, so I'm going to get that straightened up. And get this desktop a little better. And we'll be right back. So, this is our old cooler. I'll just put back together for storage. And but it's crazy to think we went from this footprint here, which is bigger than my keyboard, literally larger than my keyboard, to this footprint here. So significant size change for your system. Way better cooling, just way easier to cool. I always recommend just saving your old cooler and putting it in the box. So if you ever got an RMA or do anything, you can. But yeah, this is going to look beautiful in his new setup. I'm excited to install it. I'm probably going to do that on my next video and do some pipe bends, get this dropped in a case and go from there. So looking pretty good and overall pretty happy with everything. Turned out good. Pads look great. Should be a really good, efficient card. Well, several days later, we have the build all finished up and wrapped. Turned out really, really good. Benchmarked right where it should. Ran 3D Mark, some stress tests. Got into his BIOS and did some overclocking on his CPU. Got all the cable management done on the system. Everything turned out perfect. Bends look good. System looks good. It's a nice white build. It's in a 7000D airflow case. I couldn't be happier with the build. I'm sure he's going to be really, really happy. Temps are exceptional. The PC's silent. Looks great. I'm super pleased. I'm going to drop to some B-roll and we'll take a look at the build and the case, and then we'll, kind of end this video on that note. Well, look at that, guys. We built a custom loop. We've got our system all done. It looks great. Looks awesome on your desk. PC water cooling can be challenging. I know a lot of people are really intimidated by it, but once you learn it, it's awesome. It's fun, and you have a beautiful, gorgeous build on your desk, and you build something unique. So if you like the video, like, subscribe, drop any comments you want to in the bottom there. And I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll get on to some more custom PC building in the next video. Thank you. Take care. Have a great day.